different. I'm gonna move on to tell you about a little bit about consults. That was another request somebody requested, like how do you, what's the kind of consult etiquette? What do you do exactly with the consults? Okay. So what is a consult? When do you call a consult? So that's very important to understand. What is a consult? When do you call a consult? Okay, it might be different where you practice, but here at least the idea of calling a consult is you as the medical team, you're kind of the center of care, right? So you're the person who put in the orders and you are the person who put in the plan for the patient. None of the consultants, whether it's GI, cardiology, neurology, etc., none of them are able to place orders on your patient. So let's say the cardiologist tells you, this patient needs an echo. They're not going to be placing that order. They're not going to be taking the patient to an echo. You are responsible to place that order. Okay. What the consultant is what their responsibility is to give you recommendations based on your question. Okay. So this is the relationship between the medicine team or like the primary team and the consulting peripheral services. So when you're calling a consult, okay, when you call a consult, again, different places will do it differently, but in general, number one, you have to formulate a question, okay? And the question, usually the question is a question that will, require the consulting team to give you either recommendations that you are not able to come up yourself because you need them, or you require a procedure. You're asking for a procedure to be done or asking to be evaluated for a procedure, okay? Examples can be, example can be like somebody with GI bleed, right? This is the typical example, needs endoscopy. So you as the primary team, you're not able to do an endoscopy, right? Only the GI team is able to do an endoscopy. So you're going to have to consult the GI team where your question is, this patient has a GI bleed. Can you evaluate for an endoscopy? Okay. Hello. One of the things that you have to know when you're asking for a consultant, you have to be also respectful of the consulting service. You can't, your question, first of all, you have to have a question. Okay. You can't not have a question. You can't be, this patient has a GI bleed. I'm consulting GI, please see. Or this patient has tachycardia, I'm consulting cardiology, please see, just for the tachycardia. That's not a question. That is just you not knowing what's happening. A question is, it has to be kind of a direct question and that can be answered. Okay, so never learn early that you really have to have a question, and the question has to be formulated in a way that the consulting team knows what you want from them. Okay, a lot of times, especially I see this not with GI so much or cardiology because things are kind of more clear, but with like infectious disease doctors, right? Let's say you want to get a consult from ID about a patient. A lot of people would say, oh, this patient has sepsis. Please evaluate for infectious disease. I think that's wrong. I mean, the infectious disease doctor, yeah, they can help you with sepsis, but you as the medical doctor, you're a physician, you know how to deal with sepsis. So your question should be more targeted, more specific. So an example of a question for ID, for example, this patient has sepsis of unknown origin with negative blood cultures, negative urine culture, negative sputum, and spiking fevers, and a CT scan of the abdomen is negative. Please evaluate for sepsis of unknown origin. That's a valid question because now they have kind of an input to tell you, to guide you, to see, because they have more expertise in these things. But until you reach that point, really as a medical doctor, you're kind of expected to know at least the general management of things before they dwell into something, before you start asking for consults. And you might practice in places where they pan consult, where the culture of these places is to just place consult for anything. I dealt with this in New York. This is very common, but that's not the norm. The norm is you as a hospitalist, as in medicine, you're able to take care of these patients until you require further. Okay. So first you have to formulate your question and ask the team, okay? And then, number two, you have to page the consultant, okay? You're either gonna page either the fellow who's responsible for, usually cardiology fellow, palm fellow, GI fellow, whatever, or the attending if there is no fellow. Okay, and then you're gonna page them using whatever paging system you guys have. It could be through something called Amion. There's like other paging systems, and sometimes it will allow you to actually type in the question and the patient information. So usually, you're gonna page something regarding patient, blah, 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 in room, blah, 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 and then you write the question. And then you write your question, for example, okay? That's gonna be kind of, your page. And then, finally, it depends again where you are, is to place the order in the computer. Place the order in the EMR. And the order is going to, again, ask you for the question. Like, what is your question for the consultant? Did you page them already about it? There's a tick box about this. So these things have to kind of go hand in hand when you're asking for a consult, okay? And then, number four, and I think this is the most important part after consulting is follow the recommendations. You really have to follow the recommendations of the consultant, okay? Otherwise, it's useless, right? Like, why did you talk to them if you're not going to follow the recommendation? And this is a common theme. And I urge you to follow the recommendation in the same day, because sometimes the services, these, like, for example, GI or cardiology, they will have a lot of things to do in the morning. They will round in the afternoon. And then the notes come in late. Okay, the notes or the final official recommendations from these people might come at 5 p.m. You might have already left. So what you can do is you can sign out to the overnight to check the recommendations. Okay, because sometimes you might not get to it, but it's really important to follow the recommendations. Like, let's say they ask you for an MRI. It's gonna waste time. First of all, it's gonna waste time if you show up the following morning and then you're looking and there's a consult from yesterday saying get an MRI and you never got it, and then it's gonna waste a whole day just trying to get the MRI, blah blah blah. And second of all, the consultant themselves, I mean, they're gonna kind of look at you and be like, what are you guys doing? I mean, you ask us for recs and then we give you the recs and you don't follow them. These things happen. So that's kind of some of the important etiquette that you have to kind of follow when you're placing consults. I think that's pretty much it. If you follow these general guidelines, you should be okay. Any questions about this thing, how to consult? And okay, cool. So this is kind of pretty important. Just keep it in mind.